Welcome to Homeschool Testing Services video on the Quantile Framework for Mathematics. You may have heard the name Quantile pertaining to results from your child's recent CTP assessment. I will define what is a quantile measure, consider why we might use it, and then how you can use the quantile measure to support you in your educational goals for your child. A quantile measure is a mathematical measure ranging from 0Q to 1500Q. A quantile measure identifies what math concepts your child knows. This measure will then match your child to math concepts they are now ready to learn. You can use your student's quantile measure to compare your child's growth each year in mathematics. Quantile will measure your child's mathematical achievement and is not tied to a specific grade level. There are many ways to assess your child's learning growth while supporting you in tailoring your specific goals for your student. Quantile is one tool that may help your homeschooling journey. At Homeschool Testing Services, we offer the CTP Online Assessment. The CTP Online Assessment will provide you with your student's quantile measure for mathematics and their lexile measure for reading. The CTP Online Assessment is available mid-April through mid-June. This assessment is made up of two reasoning subtests, verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning. The CTP Online Assessment also has 6 achievement subtests in vocabulary, reading comprehension, writing mechanics, writing concepts and skills, mathematics, and science. At Homeschool Testing Services, you will receive your student's comprehensive individual student report when you test with the CTP Online Assessment. Here you see that this sample student, we will call him James, was tested in the spring at 6th grade. James's quantile measure is 825Q. Let's head over to quantiles.com to see how we can utilize James's quantile measure of 825Q. Here you see quantiles.com. The first tool I would like to share with you is the Growth Planner. The Growth Planner will help to establish a projection of your student's test-taking skill for this type of assessment for math through each grade level to high school graduation. Here is where we will add James's quantile measure. The Growth Planner is available for students in 3rd through 12th grade. James had a quantile measure of 825Q. He tested in June of 2020. He was in 6th grade. And he started school that year in September of 2019. If you have your students' quantile measure from other years, please enter each year's measure for the most accurate growth chart. So James's quantile measure was 700Q in 5th grade. He tested that year in June of 2019. And he started school that year in September of 2018. And click Submit. Here is a projection graph for James's quantile measure for mathematics. This graph is similar to a growth chart you may receive at a doctor's office. Similarly, it's a projection, not a determination of absolute outcomes. The graph is estimating the student's math ability through high school. James's quantile measure for math falls in the blue band that is the pathway for mathematical readiness. You would want to have your student fall in or above this blue band. If your student's assessment begins to rest far below the blue band, you would want to look for other assessment tools outside the scope of a testing assessment in order to obtain other insights into your student's math skills. Here you see James's estimated growth path. That is the black dotted line. Here we have the recommended growth path, where you would want your student to fall for advanced college and career readiness, fundamental college and career readiness, and limited college and career readiness. As you see, based on our estimated projection, James will need to devote extra attention to be prepared for the mathematical challenges of an advanced curriculum or college towards the end of 12th grade. You, as the parent, should always consider opportunities in light of the goal of your homeschool. Here you see that James's quantile measure falls within the 50th percentile nationally. 50th percentile is standard for a student at his grade level. Let's see how we can help James improve his math skills. The next tool I would like to show you is the Summer Math Challenge. Summer Math Challenge is one resource at quantiles.com that you can use to challenge your student in math during the summer months. This is beginning June 21st, and each week for 6 weeks, your student can be challenged with math concepts and ideas that are in their quantile measure range. The ideal range for students to practice math skills and concepts is 50Q below to 50Q above their quantile measure. So starting June 21st, you would put in your student's quantile measure, and there will be math games for each day of the week for 6 weeks, right in their measure. The next tool I would like to show with you is our Find Your Lesson. Find Your Lesson is a great resource if you use Singapore Math or Saxon Math. Now, James was in 6th grade when he tested, so this year he is in 7th grade. Each lesson is going to be broken down into a quantile skills and concepts that are taught for each chapter. So let's scroll down. There are 55 different textbooks for 7th grade math. Here you see the Singapore Math, if you are using Singapore. And then here we have Saxon Math. If your student struggles with a certain concept in their math book, you can find resources to help support those concepts. Now, a quantile measure does not indicate that the student has mastered all of the material at or below the student's quantile measure, but that they are familiar with it. So here you see in our Saxon Math book, James had a quantile measure of 825, so it's going to start off easy for him. They should be review. Let's scroll down to something more difficult that he will be learning. Here we show the surface area of a prism. That has a quantile measure of 1040. So this is going to be above where James currently is. He'll be learning new information. And let's show the skills and concepts here that are needed to know to understand our focus concept. Here is our focus concept. Use net or formula to find the surface area of a prism, pyramids, or cylinders. Prerequisite skills. They usually have a lower quantile measure than the focus skill that your child is trying to learn. So if they are struggling with our focus skill, you may need to utilize one of these resources here. Our supporting skills are related to the topic of the focus skill, but they're not dependent on having learned this focus skill. And impeding skills, if we don't learn this focus skill, finding the surface area of a prism, that will impede our students from learning these skills coming up. There are 5 different resources that we can find here on quantiles.com that we can utilize. And if we like one of the concepts, we can add that to our resource list to find later. Let's say our student is struggling with one of the prerequisite skills. We will choose the skill they're struggling with, and then we can see if any of these prerequisite skills will help our student. And there's other resources for each of those skills. So this is a great resource for expounding on where your student struggling in math on a concept. The last tool I would like to show you is Math at Home. This is a great way to find tools for helping your student within their quantile range. So I live in North Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and pick North Carolina state standards. Again, James is now in 7th grade. If you don't have your student's quantile measure, does your student find math easy, just right, or difficult? And they'll still pull up math concepts in a range for you. 825 was our score. James's quantile range is 50 below that, 50 above, and I'm going to go ahead and search. To ensure that your student has a love of learning, it is best to match your student with quantile skills and concepts that are in their quantile range. Mathematical skills and concepts build upon one another. A child's readiness to learn a focused skill or concept depends on them having learned prerequisite skills and concepts first. So in my student's range, there are 277 resources, different activities my student can do that are all within their range. If I click on one and decide I like that activity, I can add that to my resource list to find later. There are web resources, downloadable resources, and printable resources. If you have a student who is going into high school, you may want to go ahead and check out their career database. That will help you pursue potential career ideas based on your student's math abilities. Thank you for watching our video on the quantile measure. Always use statistical measures prudently. The Quantile Framework for Mathematics has succeeded in simplifying the assessment of math ability. Use this measure where it will enrich your homeschooling goals. A quantile measure for your student can be obtained at Homeschool Testing Services through the online CTP assessment. Online testing is available mid-April through mid-June. Please visit homeschooltestingservices.com for more information.